her journey of hope, recovery, and resilience in the face of depressive illness. She will talk about what Beyond Blue does and how we can seek help or support a friend, a family member who may find themselves in this situation. So I will read a brief biography from Monique. Monique is an expat consultant who works part-time. She's married with 2 children. She, as a volunteer at Beyond Blue, works to raise awareness about anxiety and depression, reduce the associated stigma, and encourage people to get help. Monique became a speaker for Beyond Blue, help raise awareness of depression. She hopes her story will help people to pick up the signs of depression, leading to early intervention. She also very keen to help reduce the stigma of depression and to spread the word that depression is something for us all to look out for, both in ourselves and in others. Monique's interests include exercising by spin classes. That's hard for me. Working out and walking, painting, and enjoying good food and wine. Okay, Monique, thank you. So we're looking forward to hear your story, please. Mau edit aja deh.
Hello? Yep, that's good. Now I just have to untangle myself. That's not working. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Monique. It's nice to be here today. As mentioned before, I'm a speaker for Beyond Blue. Has anyone heard of Beyond Blue? Yes, some of you have, some of you haven't? Okay. Beyond Blue is an independent and not-for-profit organisation working to address issues associated with depression and anxiety in Australia. I've got quite a bit to say today, so I'm actually going to refer to my notes a little bit, so I hope that's okay with everybody here. Beyond Blue's key aims are raising awareness about depression and anxiety, reducing associated stigma, and encouraging people to seek help early. Today in Australia, there are more than 1 million people who are experiencing depression and more than 2 million experience anxiety. Today in Australia, more than 1 million people experience depression and 2 million anxiety. We know that 1 in 6 women and 1 in 8 men will experience depression in their lifetime, and the numbers increase when we talk about anxiety, as 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men are likely to experience anxiety in their lifetime. It may be difficult to think about, but someone in your family might experience these conditions, and you yourself may experience these conditions, and you may see it in your friends as well. Mental health conditions don't discriminate. They affect people of every age and at every stage in life. We all need to start talking about mental health and checking in with people that we are concerned about. Depression is more than just a low mood. It's a serious illness that has an impact on both physical and mental health. You may lose interest in work, in hobbies, and in doing things that you normally do. You may lack energy, you may have difficulty sleeping, or you may sleep more than normal. By rule of thumb, a person may be depressed if he or she has felt sad, down, or miserable most of the time for more than 2 consecutive weeks, or has lost interest in what they are doing and what they enjoy. Anxiety is more than just feeling stressed or worried. While stress and anxious feelings are a common response to a situation where a person feels under pressure, it usually passes once the stressful situation has passed or the stressor has been removed. Anxiety is when these anxious feelings do not subside. Anxiety is when they are ongoing and exist without any particular reason or cause. It is a serious condition that makes it hard for people to cope with everyday life. A person may be experiencing an anxiety condition if he or she feels very worried or anxious most of the time and finds it difficult to calm down. People experiencing an anxiety disorder feel overwhelmed or frightened by sudden feelings of intense panic and anxiety. They also experience recurring thoughts, and they may be thoughts that seem silly to others, but they can't seem to get them out of their heads. I've become a speaker for Beyond Blue so that I can share my story and help people think about and talk about mental health. 14 years ago, I was a happily married woman with one daughter and a great life. Pre-children, I was a human resources manager at Optus, which is a large telecommunications company. I had dreams like everybody else. I wanted to spend my life and my holidays travelling to places like Asia and Europe. I was keen to pick up my love of painting again. I spent a lot of time eating out at my favourite restaurants and always kept up my exercise. I went back to human resources project work after I had my daughter Grace. It was a great balance and I was often able to work from home, which worked really well for me. I fell pregnant when Grace was 18 months old. There were stresses during the pregnancy, which led to me feeling quite on edge a lot of the time. I often felt teary and tended to catastrophise situations. I also had a lot of trouble sleeping. I now realise that this was anxiety, but we were unaware of what the signs were. We didn't know what anxiety was at that stage. I was exhausted after the birth of my second child, Emily, as many women are. I came home from hospital and coped with the sleepless nights and the usual routine of having a newborn baby, as well as looking after a 2.5-year-old. The first month and a half were a blur, really. As time went on, I seemed to get more and more tired, finding it difficult to keep up with the everyday demands of life. I remember lying on the couch one day and saying, I don't know what's wrong with me, I just feel so exhausted. My mind started to race and I was getting anxious about the littlest things. I couldn't bear noise. If someone put a plate down on our loud marble table, the sound would heighten my anxiety to such a degree that I'd be holding back tears. Hearing my baby cry would be excruciating. The sound would just echo in my head and I just wanted it to stop. I couldn't read, I couldn't watch television because the stimulus of these things was so intense for my anxiety that I just couldn't do it. I felt very down and detached from my baby. I started to feel very sad and that everything was hopeless. I got to the point where I could not look after my children because my anxiety was so high and I'd fallen into such a deep depression. My guilt was enormous because there was no attachment to my daughter and I could not look after my children. The depression worsened over a period of time, but because my husband and I knew nothing about depression, we did not get help early on. When I hit rock bottom was when I finally asked for help. We were on holidays in Queensland and my husband contacted our GP in Melbourne. I was unable to function at this stage. I could not be alone with our girls, was constantly in tears and felt incredibly vulnerable. My husband explained the situation to our GP and he explained that it was depression and insisted that I get on a plane straight away and fly back to Melbourne to get help. In many ways, it was a relief knowing that it was depression, as I had no idea what was happening to me, but at the same time I was very scared because I didn't know anything about the illness. My husband Googled depression and found a 10-point survey. When we completed this survey, we found that I was on the far end of the scale for being depressed. The survey is actually available on the Beyond Blue website if anyone's interested in seeing that and showing it to anyone that they care about, family or friends. Nobody could believe that I had depression, as usually I was such a happy person. I was very fortunate to have an extremely supportive husband, family and friends. I flew straight home to Melbourne, and when I came home, my GP put me on medication straight away, but this didn't work. He put me on different medication, but that was to no avail either. At this stage, we were waiting for a bed in a psychiatric hospital. It took 2 weeks for a bed to become available. During this time, unfortunately, I continued to deteriorate. My anxiety levels were unbearable. I felt incredibly depressed and alone, and I was having very negative thoughts. Thoughts that I was a bad person, a bad mother, and that my family would be much better off without me. I also could not continue to go through the pain of the depression. Every second of the day was agonising for me. There was no relief. It takes a lot of resilience to keep going when you're going through such a severe depression. And often when you are waiting for the right treatment to kick in, you can get worse before you get better. I had a good friend who had experienced depression, and I opened up to her about what was going on. She told me that what was happening to me was not who I was, it was the illness. I also opened up to my close friends about what was happening and my diagnosis. They put together a roster where they would come and take me out for a walk every day. They were incredibly supportive and understanding. Although they could not do anything to help me with the illness, it helped me a lot to be able to talk to my friends about it, about my feelings, and to know that they were there for me. When I went to hospital, my parents moved into my house to look after Grace, and my husband spent every night in the hospital with Emily and I. I was in hospital for 3 months. My daughter would come into hospital every second night and have dinner with me. I was so sick that I wanted to end my life. I couldn't bear going on, but I also couldn't bear the thought of what that would mean, particularly for my eldest child, Grace, who had been with me for 2.5 years. At this stage, I had lost all hope that things were going to get better. I continued through the pain and could not see how it would end. But fortunately, things changed. It was whilst in hospital that I had my turning point. The medical staff explained electric shock treatment to me and said that it was our only chance now. I was frightened and I was distrusting. I had thoughts in my head from the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. They assured me that times had changed and I would be under general anaesthetic when they administered the treatment. After much deliberation, I agreed to the therapy. I was very frightened. I had 8 treatments. After the first session, for a moment, it was like a blind was lifted and a little bit of light came in. My husband was so relieved that he could see a little bit of the old me, just a touch, and he cried and he said to me, "Oh my God, you're actually going to get better." My father would come to the hospital for each treatment and look after Emily until I recovered. I now had hope that I would recover. After the ECT, I was put on medication, which continued to make me well. I also had psychotherapy, and the two combined led to my recovery. I received a government grant for support when I returned home. We hired a full-time nanny to help me for the first 3 months. She then helped me on a part-time basis for the following 3 months, as it took me time to recover from the depression, regain my confidence, and independently look after my children again. Within 6 to 9 months, I started to feel myself again, and I was able to begin to lead my normal life. But unfortunately, 18 months later, I fell into a depression again. A majority of women who suffer postnatal depression completely recover. However, a minority continue to suffer depression on an ongoing basis. And unfortunately, I discovered that I belong to this minority. I'm generally well, but every few years have had a bout of depression. 8 years ago, I started to see a new psychiatrist, who I still see now. He's fantastic. He manages my medication very well for me. To stay well, I'm very proactive in seeing my doctor. He's just a part of my life now. I also exercise regularly and meditate every day. Different things work for different people, and these are the things that work for me. So now I live with depression and I know when it is coming. For me, it usually starts with anxiety. It then leads to ruminating thoughts. From here, my mood drops and I start to fall into a depression. I make sure that I see my doctor at the beginning of this episode so we can work proactively to minimise the impact of the depression. I went back to working for myself when Emily was at kindergarten, doing HR work. Being self-employed, I was able to balance my work with my home life, and if I had episodes of depression, I could work around these. I've made a change from HR recently into working as a relocation consultant, helping find homes and schools for people from overseas. I'm very open about my depression and anxiety with my family and my friends. My husband always knows where I'm at. Given our experience, he now has a very good understanding of the illness. I also speak openly to my parents and my sister about how I'm feeling and what I'm going through. Depression is not something to be ashamed of or to hide. It only makes the illness more difficult if you try and hide it from the people who are close to you. I recently had quite a bad bout of anxiety and was finding it difficult to work. I thought a lot about what to say to my manager and whether or not to disclose my condition. I trusted her and felt she was a warm and caring person, so I had an open and honest discussion with her about my anxiety. She was very understanding and supportive and felt, as I did, it was a good idea to take a little bit of time off work. I felt very supportive and positive about the fact that I could have this conversation. I believe it built trust and also strengthened our relationship. I'm not saying that this would be the outcome of all such situations, but it's a good idea to have a think about whether or not you should talk about these things to these people who you work for if you are working. My children are now 12 and 14 years old. We've just added a little puppy called Nelson to our family, and he's causing a lot of chaos. I'm still enjoying good food and wine, travelling, exercising, and have gone back to painting classes. I'm very grateful to be leading a full life with my wonderful family and friends. Depression and anxiety are common and treatable conditions. Support is available and it's important to seek help early. With the right treatment, most people recover. Depression and anxiety can happen at any time, but we know women are more likely to experience these conditions during their pregnancy and in the first year after they have their baby. Beyond Blue research shows that 1 in 10 women will experience depression during pregnancy, and this increases to almost 1 in 7 after the birth of their child in the first year. The rates of anxiety are thought to be even higher. Fathers and partners are also at risk of depression and anxiety during early parenthood, and the risk increases if their partner is experiencing a mental health issue. If you think somebody may be depressed or have an anxiety condition, or you have such a condition, it's important to speak to your GP or a mental health professional. If you want to find out more about the signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety, treatments and where to get help, you can visit the Beyond Blue website or contact them on their helpline. And I think there's a lot of resources here today that you can take home with you as well. A common misconception is that people with anxiety or depression can just snap out of it, or that depression and anxiety indicate a weakness of character. Depression and anxiety are illnesses, not weaknesses, and people shouldn't feel ashamed to speak up and seek help early. It is important for people who have experienced a mental health condition to know their personal stresses and triggers and have ways to deal with them. The major message I need to leave you with today is that we need to start thinking about and having conversations about mental health. Look after yourself and keep your eye out on family and friends. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions at all? Yes. Yes, so can I talk about general anxiety?
What if I want to bring it up?
Oh, yes,
Is
of course.
it okay?
Yes.
All right. You are very lucky because when you talk about the anxiety and your family, your husband is supporting you. But if you know somebody in the family or some member of family is in the anxiety or on the depression, and then when we talk to another family member about it, or we talk to the person directly, they normally deny it.
Yes. Yes.
And when we tell them to get help, and they normally, I'm okay. You're the one who's crazy.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And yeah. What else I'm going to say? But I know the anxiety can get worse, and then the person can be such an oppression, giving a very oppression to other people.
Yes.
Which is not very good. I mean, yeah. So how do you cope? I mean, not cope. How do you
deal with that?
Deal with that.
Yeah.
Like even if we talk to the family member about it, they said no, it's okay, or they're okay, or you don't have to worry about it. It's normal, or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's really common because I think a lot of people like to sweep it under the carpet. And they don't want to admit that they actually have an illness.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard when everyone around them is saying that they're fine as well when they're not.
Yeah.
So sometimes this could be a good opportunity for you because you've got some information that you're taking away today.
Okay.
It could be an opportunity for you to actually just say, look, I know that you think you're okay, but maybe just have a read of this because this might explain what you're going through.
Yeah.
And then follow up with them and ask them if they've had a read of it and do they think that they can relate to some of the symptoms that they're talking about in the booklets, and maybe then you can talk to them about getting help from that point on.
Do you think they realize about it?
Do I think they realise? No, often they don't. I didn't.
Yeah, that's why.
That's why I got so sick.
Because every time if we talk about it, and they just like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? I'm okay. I don't. And then if we talk to the brother or sister about person, and then they said, "You crazy?" Just like you he's okay or she's okay, something like
Well,
that.
maybe now that you've got some facts,
Sorry?
you've got some facts, some information
Yeah.
that tells you exactly what it is.
I did. I think I sometimes give some website and send the email or something to read, but I don't think they read.
They don't read it. No.
I don't think so.
No, it's very hard. All you can do is keep trying and maybe give them the information that you get today.
It's not only in the family member. I think it's also in the office, like between you and your boss and friends and everything, something
Definitely.
like that. So it's because I have experienced in different places, you know. But I also read that people who is living or working or stay with the people has the anxiety or depression, I think the first thing you have to do is you have to help yourself.
That's right.
Which they call something like codependence or something.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Yeah, I don't know what they said, but but and then people will think, why do I have to get help? But they're the one who has problem.
Yeah, that's right. And it impacts everybody else as well.
Yeah, I know.
If you're living in, if you're living with them and the person who's suffering anxiety or depression has a very big impact on the family because of their behaviour and their mood.
Yeah.
So
the mood swing and everything for only a simple thing that I don't think we deserve to get that. Like even in the office situations where I used to work, and then like my boss is like get angry over small thing to everybody and something like that. But
it's very hard when it's your boss, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because it's hard to say to your boss, I think you're have an issue with depression or anxiety. It's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. Or with my son when he's facing the exam and then he turns to be like get angry very easy or something like that. So what's this?
That's right. I think you're doing everything you can do. I think one of the main purposes of me being here today is to encourage you to talk about it and to keep talking about it. And when you get information like you'll be getting today, if you know someone, you can pass that information on and just keep trying to encourage them. And you'll read information that you may not have known about before about anxiety and depression, and you can tell them, this is what I've read and I can see that these are some of the behaviours that you are just, displaying. Can you just have a look at it?
But in the religious way, like we Muslim, actually there is a way how to get rid of it. But when we tell the person, you just do your prayer, when you do we prostrating, like you do the yoga like the prostrate, it's a kind of release, That's already a way in our religion. But if we tell the person, you just do your prayer, and then what you talking about? Something like that. So that's all I want to share.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask question. I think it's a general question. I think that everyone can sort of relate to. Some people will probably encounter close people in their lives that are generally toxic in behavior and attitude-wise. How do you deal with close people in your lives or family members, friends that are that are toxic in terms of their behavior or their attitude? It's something that you can't really push away if they are
so close.
If they're so close, or if they're close friends or anything like that.
Well, I guess one thing to do is to talk to them about it. Talk to them about the impact that they have on your lives, and see if they have some sort of self-awareness. They probably don't have self-awareness because they're doing that. They don't realise the impact they're having on everybody around them. So to talk to them about it and maybe say to them, it's okay if I tell you when it's happening so that you can see that it's happening so that they can learn from it. I haven't personally been in that situation where I've had to deal with that, but I think communication is always the best way of dealing with things like that. Question?
Well, I heard, I don't know whether it's correct or no, that if you have a family member who have mental health illness, it means that you are more susceptible to mental health illness rather than a person who doesn't have a family member who do have mental health illness in whatever form that is.
Yeah.
Is that...
Yes, so mental health illnesses can be hereditary. It doesn't mean that because your mother had it or your father had it or your brother had it that you're going to have it as well. But it is a genetic thing. I have, on both sides of my family, I have family members who suffered from depression quite severely. So I got the unlucky gene and got it as well. But then I've got 5 siblings and 2 of us suffer from depression and 3 of my siblings are fine. They don't suffer any depression or anxiety. So it's the luck of the draw. But yes, it can be genetic. But it can also be caused by situational factors like stress and what's going on in your life can bring on, life events can bring on depression or anxiety as well. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Monique, if you don't mind, I probably will explain because most of the time I get people ask me like, is it depression? It's just when you said like, you know, like, oh, like you said, we can snap from it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to explain to them that with depression, it's more than that. Like you said, it happened more than 2 weeks, unable to sleep, and it's actually is going on. When I studied, I was told that if you listen to your favorite songs, normally you feel happy. But when you have depression, it means nothing. The laugh of your children and everything that normally make you happy now doesn't make you happy anymore. Then that's when you know it's more than just being sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Monique, before explain about the ECT, that is ada yang tahu ECT apa? ECT itu electric shock therapy or electroconvulsive therapy. Jadi, can I explain in Indonesian?
Sure.
Jadi di rumah sakit kita bius total, tapi masih bisa terima instruction. Terus kita nanti kepalanya dikasih kayak jarum-jarum gitu, ya. Kita terus dikasih electric shock, dikasih kejutan listrik. Itu karena untuk orang yang punya depresi atau anxiety itu kalau di CT scan otaknya itu dia memang kelihatan ada perubahan gambarnya. Jadi kadang-kadang depression itu nggak cuma soal di hati, soal perasaan, tapi secara dari tubuh, dari otak, dari hormon segala macam dia berubah. Makanya tadi saya bilang ke Mbak Tika itu salah suatu penyakit seperti juga diabetes, tekanan darah tinggi gitu, jadi penyakit. Nah dengan elektrik itu, dengan sengatan listrik di otak itu kayak benerin lagi gitu loh. Nah itu yang bikin orang kadang-kadang ngelihat nggak tega ya, kayak beneran disetrum gitu loh. Kalau kadang-kadang makanya keluarga nggak boleh ikut, karena kalau ngelihat tuh sampai keluar dari mana-mana gitu ya, karena namanya disetrum gitu. Tapi insya Allah itu recover from that gitu. 8 times, did you do 8 times? Yeah. How many weeks in between or how many days in between?
I had about 2 a week.
2 weeks.
Every week I would have 2 treatments, so
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 days apart.
Yeah. Yeah, so
And that's what healed me. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have
yeah, I said that it may look unpleasant, you know, if
Yeah.
you heard about it, but I said to them that it cured some people. That's
Yeah.
actually helped some people.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Ya, terus tadi Monique juga bilang psikoterapi itu berarti have a consultation with psychologist or psychiatrist. Ada yang tahu perbedaannya psychologist sama psychiatrist? Psychiatrist, ya. Jadi kalau psychiatrist tuh dokter. Kalau psychologist dia emang psikolog, gitu. Bedanya satu bisa ngasih obat, satu nggak bisa ngasih obat, gitu. Perbedaannya. Terus triggers of depression kayak tadi Monique bilang, most common thing is pregnancy and then childbirth, basically change of life events. Karena kalau kayak gitu kadang-kadang ada sesuatu going on di body gitu ya, apa perubahan hormon gitu, apa ya itulah sebagai trigger depression itu. Ya seperti yang tadi juga Monique bilang, yang pertama kali kita harus datangi adalah GP, dokter. Itu a port of call pertama kali gitu. Karena from the GP, nanti GP will refer us to either psychologist or psychiatrist or go to counseling. But the first port of call is your GP. So have a talk with your GP when that happen. Okay, Dina.
Can I share a little bit? Because I myself has postnatal depression, which is actually undiagnosed in the beginning. And I didn't have ECT as what Monique has. What I'm trying to say is ECT isn't always the treatment. And postnatal depression is really common. And at that time, no one realized that I actually has postnatal depression because people are saying it's common after giving birth to feel quite sad, to feel teary, to feel everything like that, that it's common. And we all didn't do anything in my first one. And then in the second one, during the pregnancy, I started to have anxiety symptom, which I didn't realize at all. My husband is the one who mentioned, you're being so dramatic. He complains a lot of everything that I change, and up to a point where he complains to my midwife during the pregnancy. And because he complained to the midwife, that actually the point where the midwife sent me to see a psychologist, and with their talk, I got early referral and I got early treatment, and it turned out that what I experienced in the firstborn, that it was actually a postnatal depression, which is undiagnosed. Because during my second one, I was so stressed and so panicked that the same thing will happen again. So it turned out that wasn't the normal. After having a child, it wasn't normal like that. So they make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. What I did with them, it's just having a talk with the psychologist, not even a psychiatrist, not even with medication, nothing like that, just with the talk. And they give me signs and symptoms of what do I need to look for with myself. And the moment at that time, I didn't realize anything. I didn't realize the things that I should be worried about, that my emotional is actually not well. I didn't realize that thing. They made me realize this is the things that you need to be aware of. Basically, as what Monique is saying, and there's a lot of resources there, what they used to talk to me as well. So I'm just trying to share that it's not always the same experience, and postnatal depression, you might not realize it, but it happens.
It's the same for me. I think I experienced the postnatal depression, but it's come and go. It's just like today I'm feeling sad, but then tomorrow, no, it's okay. I'm happy. And then when I did the questionnaire from Beyond Blue, it's within 7 days, if I'm not mistaken. Are you feeling sad? Are you really, really depression? and I did the test, but no, I'm not depression from the test. But then my husband said that it's not normal because sometimes when I'm really feeling down, it's just like become angry, really boom, just like wow. But then after that, it's okay, it's normal. And then okay, and then my husband called the Beyond Blue, and then the first step is, yeah, just like what you said, you have to go to the GP. Okay, and then when we want to go to the GP, and the day, no, I'm okay. How to do express to the GP? Because today I'm happy, something like that. Because if I'm the postnatal depression. It can, yeah, it's just come and go because if today, just like today, I'm feeling okay, I'm feeling fine because there's nothing, there's no trigger, nothing. Is it kind of only anxiety or depression? Because it's only my personal opinion, because it is the postnatal depression, because it's not from the expert. It's only from my opinion and my husband's opinion. Maybe, or it's maybe you are.
So it doesn't hurt to go and talk to your GP and tell him what you've told us, or her, what you've told us. That
only
today
just
I
like
feel
that.
fine,
For today is.
today I feel really good, but yesterday I felt like this, and then the day before I felt good, but the day before that I felt awful.
Okay.
And they can help you work out what it is.
Only just like that sentence.
Yeah,
It's
explain it to
enough.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I think that's a really
Because
good idea.
when I really feeling depressed, I talk to someone, and then it's relief. It's always just like repeat,
Coming and going.
coming and going.
Yeah.
Is it anxiety or depression, in your opinion?
Well, it's hard for me to say. It depends on what's going on in your head, whether you're having anxious thoughts or whether you're feeling really low. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think I think a doctor needs to tell you what it is. I don't think I can tell you. I think it's really important that even though you feel great some days, you don't want to have those days often
Yeah.
where you're not feeling great. So it can't hurt to go and talk to your GP about it.
Okay, so yeah, because just like Sister Dina said, it's common, it's normal. So yeah, I don't know, is it really need for me to go
Yeah,
to the
there is,
gym?
because you want to live a happier life.
Okay,
You know, you deserve to live a happy life every day.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. Thank you.
that's okay.
I just wanted to clarify because I think there's a big stigma in communities and especially in the religion that depression is not being ungrateful. It doesn't mean that you're not happy with your life. It doesn't mean that you're not happy with your family or you don't love your family or you're not grateful to God for what you have. It's more you may not be happy with yourself or you may not be happy with how you're dealing with your children. And if that elaborates any further, then that can cause you to feel even lower. So it's nothing to feel guilty about in terms of like, I shouldn't be. A lot of people would say, why are you depressed? You've got a really good life. Why are celebrities depressed? Because they've got so much money, they can spend on whatever they want. They've got everything that can satisfy them. It's beyond money. It's beyond your life in terms of it's not being ungrateful for what you have. I think you can be grateful and you can be so thankful to God for what beauty you have in front of you, but you may not be happy with yourself. And I think that I just wanted to clarify that.
That's very important.
Because a lot of people mistaken that and they'll be like, you don't need to be sad. What are you sad for? You've got nothing happening. Everything's perfect. And I think that's a big stigma in the community.
Yeah, and I think as an individual, when you do get depressed, you do feel really guilty about that. I mean, my life is fantastic. I've got a loving husband, 2 beautiful kids. We're, you know, financially we're okay. Got a beautiful group of friends and wider family. Everything's great in my life. But this is something that's totally out of my control. It's something that happens to me, and you know, it's not. And I feel guilty about that sometimes because I think, why am I feeling depressed when everything's so good? But I shouldn't, because it's actually got nothing to do. Yeah, it's the depression talking. You know, it's something that you're not bringing upon yourself, but something that happens to you. Yes.
Sorry.
So yeah, back again, because so then I need to know to what a point that I do have the depression, because well, as I asked you before, I do have a family member. It's quite close.
Yeah.
He's my mom's brother. I think he has schizophrenia when he's hallucinating. Something seems so real for him, but it's not there. And he went to the psychiatric hospital, and he did have medication with him on the daily basis. And so if then I am become more susceptible to what a point that I have to look out for myself, whether I am depressed or
Yeah. I think what I talked about earlier, where you're feeling different, whether it's anxious or down, you stop enjoying the things you normally enjoy doing, like your children, if you have hobbies that you like, spending time with your partner. When you're just getting no joy out of anything for more than 2 weeks, you start to think, okay, there's something not quite right here. I'll go and talk to my GP about it. So I'd say that's probably a good sign for you to do that. Yeah.
That's it. Any more questions? Any more want to share? Apa? Oh ya, kalau mau pakai bahasa Indonesia nggak apa-apa, kata Dina. Dina mau nambahin dari sisi Islam apa gimana? No? No? Okay. Yeah, that's it. We can wrap it up. Yeah, inshallah. Okay. Thank you, Monique. That's very interesting indeed. Most people don't understand about the journey of a person through depression because, like you said, most of them go behind a closed door. But with event like this, we hope to increase the awareness of mental health illnesses in the community. And by recognizing the symptoms and knowing where to get help, and people with mental health illness, especially depression, will recover quickly and back to their regular activities. For summary, I think I already mentioned before. So now we know if you're feeling sad or you feel anxious, that probably more than that. If it's prolonged, it means like it's keep going on for a while, and it's very hard to get happy again or get normal again as you normally would. With some people ask me, is there any correlation between depression and anxiety? And then yes, there is, but there are two different symptoms. With depression, you're mostly feeling sad and down. With anxiety, just like Monique explained before, is an ongoing feeling anxious, cemas gitu ya, kayak khawatir gitu, without reasonable reasons, difficult to calm down, dan intense panic. Jadi kadang-kadang realisasinya jantung berdebar-debar, keringetan, getar, terus ada langsung physical manifestationnya itu ada gitu. Terus kadang-kadang recurring thought that maybe sound silly for others, ya kayak misalnya apa? Can you give me an example of anxiety, like afraid of what? Yeah, something happened with the baby. Yeah. 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 The anxiety. And then we have to aware of the severity of the condition that, like Monique explained before, there is what the result of it is negative thought, that feeling of the world or the family will be better without you. Makanya ada news tentang somebody commit suicide, and that's very serious. Like either you hurt yourself or you hurt others. So yeah, we have to realize that this condition is something that we have to pay attention of. And then again, just to remind everyone, the first port of call, if you want to get help, first probably you talk to someone first, and then with that someone you consult your GP, and then we go from there. The option of help is varies between like what we talked about today. There's medication, there is counseling, or medical help like ECT, like I explained before. All right. Alhamdulillah, we praise to Allah that we have learned valuable knowledge today by sharing experience. Thank you, Monique, once again for coming today. I hope you enjoy our company.
I did. Thank you.
Therefore, we have a little present for
You didn't need to do that.
as an expression of our gratitude. Again, thank you very much. And then we also collect the donation today that will go through Beyond Blue.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Mau foto Mbak? Foto Mbak? Foto.
Oh.
Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. You didn't need to do that. It's very kind of you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please stay for a simple lunch that we have prepared today, and maybe